to Horror Hour.
We all go a little mad sometimes. We get you. Here's Johnny.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, nice to see you. I remember you from They Live in the Gray.
Yeah, yes. Well, I just want to kind of get into Nian. I watched this and this one hit me in the heart. It was well, it was funny, also dramatic, but also scary. So I want to know what kind of possessed you to write the story and also direct it.
The invitation to make this short really came from 20th Digital. They saw my last short and invited me to pitch ideas. And I originally just had this idea that came from my son, who in kindergarten, which was several years ago, came home with a story that he was supposed to learn. He's in a Mandarin language program. And the story was about how and why we celebrate Chinese New Year. And it's because of the Nian, which is this monster. And the origin of that story was not familiar to me. And so I was very surprised to learn about why we have a Chinese parade, why we make fireworks, why we paper the houses in red. And so my interest was very piqued. And when it came time to pitch ideas, I kind of had this idea of like, what if a kid feeds her racist bullies to this monster, the Nian, on Chinese New Year? So that's where it came out of. And it's been really surprising to take on horror. I'm a newer director, but an older veteran around films.
Mhm.
It's interesting to do something visually challenging, work within the genre requirements, but bring in what I feel, and thank you for saying it. I feel like I have to tell stories that have some kind of heart to it. And I feel like once I realized that I could bring some comedy to this, that's when it really opened up my world as a director.
I will say that the opening I was not expecting Amma to say that, and I laughed I was like, oh my gosh. And but I liked how, as you were telling the story, though, there you had two types of horror. Though you had the monster, but I will admit, as Gertie's standing in the classroom and she's got her racist bully there, that scene took me back, because I remember stuff like that, and I thought that was done very well.
Thank
You
you.
know,
Yeah, it's a very hard moment that I toyed with not doing, because I didn't want to re-traumatize people, but in trying to tell why this character is deserving of whatever she ends up getting in the short, I
mhm,
had to feel like one of the worst things you could do to someone, right? And that for me is one of the worst things. And
absolutely.
I feel like there's a duality there, which is I don't want to depict it, but I kind of had to in order for it to be a morality tale.
Absolutely. And I think, I guess that's why I remember seeing the list and going through all the shorts, but this was the first one I was like, I need to see this, because also I was just like, it sounds right up my alley. And then as the story was going along, it reminded me so much of just my past, but also made me think of my grandmother. And I really appreciated that. When it came to the genre elements, how was that shooting that sequence?
It was hard, Yutaka. It was really hard. I could have spent, 5 days on that sequence,
Oh,
because,
wow.
well, just because I imagined it to be quite theatrical,
Hmm.
pulling from films like Kwai-Dan and Kuroneko and Onibaba, obviously, who I'm really pulling from. But I wanted to create a kind of theatrical beauty and horror. And I told all of my designers, it has to be scary, but beautiful. So for me, that was the execution of that. And also, being that I am newer to this genre, I also knew I had to deliver some of
Hmm.
the gore elements, or the horror elements, I should say. And that's technical. And because we chose all in-camera effects, everything was practical. And when it comes to practical effects, it takes time, and we could only be on that set for that one day for that scene.
Oh, wow. One day?
Well, my whole shoot was 2 days, but with the budget and just the challenges, yeah, we were given, basically a portion of a day for that sequence.
It was a wonderful, I loved it. I really enjoyed the lighting aspect that as it was changing, but I'm a huge practical effects person, so I loved seeing just the telling of that story. And I would have to say, as a newer director, huge fan of that. It was a great tale. And like I said, there's just something about horror when you can tell a story, but also still kind of give the scares.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That was always in my mind, like, I gotta get the scares. Gotta get the scares.
Well, I'm curious too, when it came to doing that, I always find that horror really helps. It's able to tell those tough conversations. And did you find when doing that you were able to kind of get your point across to the audience?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we asked that again because all of a sudden I was thinking of the short film Slut. I don't know if you know that short.
By Chloe Okuno?
Yes, yes.
Oh
yes.
my God, that's a fabulous short.
Such a fabulous short. So when you were asking me, I was flashing to that because I think your question was prompting my response. But will you because it's tackling a really interesting, antisocial behavior, right?
Yes.
But tackling it from a very human place of why, right? Why this behavior is happening. So will you re-ask that question? Sorry.
Yeah, I was wondering if it felt natural to be able to tell that story using the genre, because I do think with the horror genre, you can expand upon or kind of go to a fantastical realm, and it makes telling those topics sometimes easier. And so I'm curious as a filmmaker if you found that.
Yeah, I think that's what I discovered about the genre. I'm naturally more of a sci-fi fan because that's kind of what I grew up watching. Although I realized how much I've watched horror as a kid and realized I've been so terrified my whole life because I got exposed to it very early on. And just got the living daylight scared out of me. So for me, discovering as a director that it's really kind of carte blanche. I mean, obviously you need to have story. You always need to have story.
Of course.
But visually it's carte blanche in terms of how you execute your maneuvers. And there's such a liberating feeling that you don't have to adhere to reality, that, it's kind of more like, how clever can you be when you have such a buffet table at it's being offered, just being selective on how you decide to use, the things that are on that buffet table.
No, I agree. And again, I just want to thank you again, speaking with me. I really did love this short. I thought it was, I mean, again, I feel like I related to it on a personal level. So, I mean, let me put it this way. My anxiety level through that short just continually raised through once the classroom sequence started until the end. And so I really just enjoyed that.
Well, thank you. I think there's something so visceral about horror, and when it gives you that experience, that is it's working. So thank you. I appreciate it.
So again, just thank you so much for speaking with me. And I wish you the best of luck. And I can't wait to see what you do next, honestly, because I would like to see you do more horror.
Thanks, Yutaka. I think hopefully, people will watch this and clamor for it. And I'm hoping to pitch the feature idea to 20th Digital.
I would be in that theater seat watching that immediately.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
You have been listening to the Horror Hour. See you next time.